Hey guys, today's podcast is brought to you by audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Fred. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, MP3 player. That's audibletrial.com/Fred. But for now, enjoy the show. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for pushing the download button. I am so glad. Hey, I have a few questions for you. Do you aspire to a creative life? Are you tired of working 9 to 5? Are you asking yourself, what is the point of it all? Do you want to take your creativity, your business, anything that you're doing to the next level? Welcome to the Creative Magic Unchained. This podcast is about unleashing your creativity. This is an inspirational podcast. It is a magical podcast. It is an intuitive podcast as we chat with enigmatic, charismatic artists from around the globe, from musicians, singers, radio hosts, business people, photographers, everything in between. The Tower of Power, too sweet to be sour. Funky like a monkey in this place. Sky is the limit and space is the place. I am Frederick and I'm doing the thing behind the mic. I am your host. I'm a businessman. I'm an artist. I'm a writer. I'm a friend. I'm a blog reader. I'm I don't know. I'm whatever you want me to be. This podcast is free every time you download it on iTunes or Stitcher. Please go over there and subscribe. It is listener supported. So if you know somebody that could benefit from this podcast, share it. Tell a friend. Leave a review. Reviews really help us in these algorithms, for iTunes and Stitcher and all that stuff. And the more we are out there, people, the more we can spread the word. Oh yeah, spread the word. So that's about it. If you want more, what you're gonna do now? I'm gonna tell you what you're gonna do now. You're gonna join our creatives community. Why? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because you're going to get a free audio. That's right. You're going to get a free audio of my conversation with JF Dubo that I did a while back. And the reason why I decided to give this as a free gift to all your people is because I know it will inspire you to go to the next level. JF goes in depth about how he went from a graphic designer to an author. He just published his second book. And you know what? He's doing it. He is doing the thing. He is doing the thing in his life. He changed his life. He is changing his life. And I know this is going to inspire you. And you're going to get a bunch of free articles. You're going to be the first one to receive the podcast. So right now, what you're going to do, you're going to go to feverishly.com. That's Frederick with a C, buy.com. Right at the bottom of the screen there, a little pop-up is going to appear. You're going to enter your email, and that's it. That's it, brothers and sisters. All right before we dive into today's conversation and today's subject, I always like to start off with something funny, as many of you know. So here it is. It's Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, and a man makes his way to his seat right at center ice. He sits down, noticing that the seat next to him is empty. He leans over and asks his neighbor if someone will be sitting there. No, says the neighbor, the seat is empty. This is incredible, said the man. Who in their right mind would have a seat like this for the Stanley Cup and not use it? The neighbor says, well, actually the seat belongs to me. I was supposed to come with my wife, but she passed away. This is the first Stanley Cup we haven't been to together since we got married. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's terrible. But couldn't you find someone else, a friend, a relative, or even a neighbor to take the seat? The man shakes his head. No, he says, they're all at the funeral. All right, guys. Okay, it's a little mean, but it's an okay. I think it's a borderline joke. Like I think it's a fine joke. I think it's still in the safe zone, so I decided to say it. All right, let's move on. Hey, right before we dive into today's conversation with Sarantos, an amazing musician, a good guy, man, you're gonna love him. I browsed through a few articles this week that I thought maybe useful to you guys. I always like to do that now. It's my new habit. I can be anywhere waiting for my car being fixed or whatever, and here I am on my cell phone, and what am I going to tell these guys? How can I help you guys? Because a lot of things that I do in my life, that help me in my life, I want to share it with you guys on this podcast. It's very, very important for me. And here I found an article on Forbes.com. The title is 5 Ways to Make Peace with Failure. And the contributor, the blogger is Susan Tordanico, and she usually writes about authenticity, leadership, and communication. And I just thought that was a really, really fascinating article because you know what? Failure is one of the main things I think in our lives that we don't want to face. Whether you're in business, whether you're writing a book, whether you're doing whatever, and you know what? We all dread it. I dread for sure. I don't like it. It sucks, man. It's like it's like biting into a bitter fruit, like take a mouthful of a lemon, like, and swallow it. Oh my God. Anyway, all right. So the article goes like this. Let's face it. We all make mistakes. Most of us know that failure is a reality of life. And at some level, we understand that it actually helps us grow. Intellectually, we even acknowledge that the greatest achievers, past and present, are routinely experienced colossal failure. Colossal failure. Anyway, you get the deal. But still, we hate to fail. We fear it. We dread it. And when it does happen, we hold on to it. We give it power over our emotions, and sometimes we allow it to dictate our way forward or backward. Some of us go to great lengths to avoid failure because of all the pain and shame associated with it. Why is it so hard to let go, forgive ourselves, and move on? And how can we keep failure or the fear of it from derailing us? Here are 5 strategies. First one, don't make it personal. Separate the failure from your identity. Just because you have not found a successful way of doing something yet doesn't mean you are a failure. These are completely separate thoughts, yet many of us blur the lines between them. Personalizing failure can wreak havoc on our self-esteem and confidence. There was a man who failed in business at age 21, was defeated in a legislative race at age 22, failed again in business at 24, overcome death of his fiancée at 26, had a nervous breakdown at 27, lost a congressional race at 34, lost a senatorial race at age 45, failed to become vice president at age 49, lost a senatorial race at 49, and then was elected as the president of the United States at age 52. This man was Abraham Lincoln. He refused to let his failures define him and fought against significant odds to achieve success. Ooh, is that inspiring, people? Number 2, take stock, learn and adapt. Look at the failure analytically, indeed curiously, suspending feeling of anger, frustration, blame, or regret. Why did you fail? What might have produced a better outcome? Was the failure completely beyond your control? After gathering the facts, step back and ask yourself, what did I learn from this? Think about how you will apply this newfound insight going forward. Thomas Edison reportedly failed 10,000 times while he was inventing the light bulb. He was quoted as saying, "I have found 10,000 ways something will not work. I am not discouraged because every wrong attempt discarded is another step forward. The Wright brothers spent years working on failed aircraft prototypes and incorporating their learnings until they finally got it right. A plane that could get airborne and stay there. Number 3, stop dwelling on it. Obsessing over your failure will not change the outcome. In fact, it will only intensify the outcome, trapping you in an emotional doom loop that disables you from moving on. You cannot change the past, but you can shape the future. The faster you take positive step forward, the quicker you can leave this debilitating, monopolizing thoughts behind. Don Shula is the winningest coach in the NFL, holding the record for most career wins, including 2 Super Bowl victories and the only perfect season in NFL history. Shula had a 24-hour rule, a policy of looking forward instead of dwelling on the past. The coach allowed himself, his staff, and his players 24 hours to celebrate a victory or brood over a defeat. During those 24 hours, Shula encouraged them to feel their emotions of success or failure as deeply as they could. The next day, it was time to put it behind them and focus their energy on preparing for their next challenge. His philosophy was that if you keep your failures and victories in perspective, you will do better in the long run. Isn't that true? I mean, looking forward is so important, yet sometimes, it's hard to do when you're not conscious of it. All right, number 4, release the need for approval of others. Often our fear of failure is rooted in our fear of being judged and losing others' respect and esteem. We easily get influenced and spooked by what people say about us. Remember, this is your life, not theirs. What one person considers to be true about you is not necessarily the truth about you. And if you give too much power to others' opinions, it could douse your passion and confidence, undermining your ability to ultimately succeed. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first TV job because someone thought she was unfit for TV. Stephen King's first book, Carrie, was rejected by 30 publishers. Walt Disney was fired from his newspaper job because he lacked imagination and good ideas. Winston Churchill failed 6th grade and was considered adult by his teacher. Jerry Seinfeld was booed off the stage the first time he tried comedy. Soichiro Honda was rejected by an HR management at Toyota Motor Corporation when he applied for an engineering job, leaving him jobless until he began making scooters in his garage and eventually founded Honda Motor Company. Enough said. All right, guys, number 5. Try a new point of view. Our upbringing as people and unprofessionals and professionals, has given us an unhealthy attitude toward failure. One of the best things you can do is to shift your perspective and belief system away from the negative. And we quote, "If I fail, it means I am stupid, weak, incapable, and am destined to fall short." And we should embrace more positive associations. If I fail, I am one step closer to succeeding. I am smarter and more savvy because of the knowledge I've gained through this experience. Guys, indeed, one can hardly find an historic or current day success story that is not also a story of great failure. And if you ask those who have distinguished themselves through their achievements, they will tell you that failure was a critical enabler of their success. It was their motivator, their teacher, a stepping stone along their path to greatness. The difference between them and the average person is that they did not give up. No, they did not do that. Michael Jordan said it best: "I have missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I have lost almost 300 games on 26 occasions. I have been entrusted to take the game-winning shot, and I missed. I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." Well, all I can say is enough said once again. I just thought this article was very, very, very interesting. And you know what? I think we have three major fears. Number 1, lack of money. Big thing, lack of money is one of the major fears we face as when we attempt to make a career for ourselves, in a creative endeavor. Number 2 is rejection. Number 3 is failure. And I don't know. It was such a well-written article. And kudos to the contributor there, because she really did a good job. Alrighty, guys, let's move on. And today is part 1 with a very cool dude. It's part 1 with a very cool musician. His name is Sarantos, and let me tell you a little bit who he is if you don't know who he is. Sarantos' passion for music began before he knew what the word passion meant. He began writing lyrics as a small child while people watching in his mom and pop's family dinner. That is to say, when he was not working and helping his mom and pop at the dinner as a cook, dishwasher, waiter, or cashier. In those days, you always had a pad of paper, loose leaf sheet, or even a napkin to feverishly write down lyrics. As technology evolved, his iPhone, iPad, and computer have gladly become the recipients of those lyrics. You have any ideas how long it took to digitize all those songs? Man, it took him a while. It took him a while, folks. Sarantos' love of music is profound. His lyrics express his love of people and the world around him. And you know what? While life is fraught with many challenges, as we just discussed, it also offers many blessings. And his songs span an entire spectrum of emotions. Unless he takes himself too seriously, Sarantos has a pretty wicked sense of humor. You may recognize this in some of his more lighthearted lyrics, Facebook, Twitter posts, and also Sarantos' second CD, Close Your Eyes. And you know what? His unique sound has been described by industry insiders as an emotionally powerful vocal style, masterfully united with music that is a fusion of classic 80s rock and also blended with modern soft rock and pop music. Oh yeah. All right. I decided to, we talked for a while. We had a few technical problems as we recorded the interview. So I decided to do this in a 2 parts interview. And in this first part, we go a little bit about, we talk about it first, his background. I love to talk about people's backgrounds because I think our backgrounds often shape the decisions we're going to make in our lives. And that's always the first question, I ask people when I interview them. We also dive into the beliefs from his parents towards a career in arts. And my gosh, I think that his family was, the typical people, skeptical, about a career in arts. And we all know what it does for any one of you out there who've ever told your dad and mom, Dad, I want to be a singer, I want to be an actor. And you get met, you're met with a lot of pressure to not do it. Anyway, so this is this interview is for you. We also dive into about business for artists. Is that in today's world, is to have to be a little bit business wise is always very important. So we dive into that today and way more. So get ready, because Sarantos is a guy on his way. He's doing it. He's hustling. Has almost 1 million Twitter followers. Can you believe this? 1 million Twitter followers, man. Kudos to you, Sarantos. And without further ado, we're going to get to the conversation right after this. Hey guys, quick thanks to radioguestlist.com, where you can find people to interview for free. Or if you want to be interviewed, you can go there too. radioguestlist.com. Thank you guys for your support. And speaking of you listeners, I want to hear from you. If you would like to be on this show to discuss a book you have written or that you loved, if you have a book recommendation, or you just want to chat, email me. I want to hear from you at info@frédéricbaye.com. That's info@frédéricbaye.com. And for advertisement offers, use the same address with subject advertising. Hello, hello. So we are here with Sarantos. He's a singer-musician. He is described as an emotionally powerful vocal style, masterfully united with a fusion of classic 80s rock and modern music. How are you today, Sarantos?
I'm doing great, Frederick. Thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. We're honored. We're so honored to have you. We love to talk to musicians. I think it's, music touches everybody. It's universal. It's, I don't know. I just love music anyway, like billions others. All right. So right before we dive into your current endeavors, give us an idea here of your background.
Sure. So I've been born and raised in the Chicago area, and I love it. I'm a Midwest kind of guy. I've certainly tried to travel throughout the world and be exposed to a lot of the wonderful cultures and nations out there, because I think, the world has gotten a much smaller place with the internet, and I think we all can learn from each other. So I think that's definitely part of my makeup. I'm Greek. My parents are immigrants. They came to this country. So I'm a, Greek American, I guess. And I love music. I love doing it. I wish I would have done it and started much sooner, but I don't regret it. I think everything happens for a reason, and I want to do it till the day I die. So that's kind of my story.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. What was the mindset of the adults around you when you grew up, towards creativity, towards a career in the arts?
You know what? It was very, I want to say it was very different than it is today, but in some ways, I think there is this bias against the arts. And I can tell you that growing up, everybody, I don't ever feel like I was pressured from my parents, but everybody, you were considered motivated and a good kid if you wanted to become a doctor or a lawyer. But God forbid you ever told anybody that you wanted to be in a rock band or make music or sing or dance, because they really thought less of you. And I think even nowadays, I think it's better than it used to be. But at the end of the day, I think sometimes I've seen and heard stories I've witnessed where people are mortified when their kid tells them, hey, I want to dance for a living, or I want to. And I think that's terrible, because I think the arts, if you paint, if you sing, if you draw, if you dance, there's nothing more basic to humans. I think it's part of our nature, and I don't think it should be discouraged. And I know that there's a lot of dilemma in terms of financial compensation, and some people don't appreciate art. Others think that you got to struggle to be an artist, which means you should never make any money. And there's a lot of complex issues in the arena. But can you imagine telling an 8-year-old or a 15-year-old that they're a loser, or that they think less of them because they want to paint or sing?
Oof.
And it happens all the time, and it's sad.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. How did you deal with that?
I didn't, I guess the way I dealt with it, in all honesty, is I kind of
still do,
it.
Still do. And
yeah, when I was a kid growing up, I always had this passion for music and writing lyrics and singing, and I was almost ashamed to admit it, and I really didn't admit it for many years. I really just went off on a different path and always kept it hidden. And anytime I would try to sing, I never thought I was good, which I never took lessons. I never really focused on it. And it just, kind of made this vicious cycle. And when I finally decided I was going to do this a couple of years ago, my father passed away from lung cancer. And I said, that's it. I'm happy in my life. I'm content. I think, but I really got to do this. I really want to do it. It's really burning a hole in my soul. And the one thing that I've tried to do is get better every day. I read, I watch videos, I try to hone my craft, and I feel like I've gotten a million times better than 3 years ago or even a year ago. And I think it's a journey. I think people sometimes give up way too easily. They think, oh, I didn't get discovered releasing one song or one video. And I think, people work hard for 10 years, and then people think they're an overnight sensation, but they haven't been. And that's just part of the process.
Who were your influences when you were a kid? Music.
Musically, I had a lot of influences, but I'm definitely an 80s child. I love the 80s. Bands like Survivor, Def Leppard, Michael Jackson, Bruce Springsteen. I'm a fan of many different types of music, and I think they all kind of helped shape me musically.
And do they influence your music now?
I think so. The one thing that I'm going to be doing that people don't know about yet, because I always love surprising the fans, but last year I did a cover. I did my first cover for a song called In the Garden. And the compilation CD it was going to go on, the label that was doing it, that I was doing it for, basically folded. So I released my first cover on my second surprise CD last year. And it got me to thinking, I know people routinely do covers, but I'm so busy with the music videos and the books I'm writing and all the songs I'm putting out there. But I am planning a couple covers. And the only thing I'll reveal is one of my favorite songs of all time is Eye of the Tiger. And I'm definitely working on a cover for Eye of the Tiger because, again, it's just, I love that song. So I'm finally going to do a cover, whereas I kind of said I'm never going to waste my time or doing someone else's music, but I'm going to do a couple.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned earlier, the myths and, the people are afraid that you're going to say, I'm going to do a career in arts and people freak out. There's that big, like, I don't know if it's a myth, but, depends on who you talk to, but, the starving artist,
Sure.
thing. And how do you deal with that? Because, man, you're doing it right now and you're in it. How do you deal with that?
I think the
mentally,
first thing,
emotionally,
it is probably the toughest thing I've ever done in my life. And I've done a lot of different things and done a few different types of businesses. But the first thing that's challenging is the music industry. There's no blueprint. And I've had a lot of people that have taken advantage of me. I've seen other people get taken advantage of because everybody wants to make it and everybody thinks it's their passion. And a lot of people are out there selling you, a genie in a bottle and just trying to sell you a shortcut or have you do something. And most of that just doesn't fit. Mm-hmm. So the first thing is you got to be very careful out there because a lot of artists are struggling. There's no question that nowadays when I understand both sides. I understand fans that, want free music and don't want to pay for stuff. But I understand from the artist side when you've poured your heart and soul into a song or a video and nobody wants to pay you 99 cents for a copy of your song. Mm-hmm. So I made the decision. I give away all my stuff for free on my website. Again, it's just something I decided to do. And there's no question that even me musically, it's a loss. I spend a lot more money on my music than I make each month, and I hope at some point that I can at least break even just because I want to do this forever, and I would be able to do cooler videos and do more things that I want to do that you just can't because the money just keeps adding up. So I get it. I think people struggle in the arts. I think if you paint, how many people paint and they never sell a work of art, but then someone paints something and sells it for $1 million? And it's... it's hard. They do struggle. And it's what I try to tell people is if you have a passion, keep your day job. There's no reason that you can't follow your dream and follow your heart and keep working your day job. And don't be bitter about that. Even if it never happens, if you're doing it for the right reasons, I don't consider this work. And I spend probably 50 hours a week doing the stuff I'm doing musically. And don't let it affect your lifestyle too much because if you have family, if you have friends, you don't want to get to the point where you've been doing it 10 years and you have no friends, no family. Enjoy your life, but do this on the side. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
I speak to a lot of people in the business side of arts and artists. Do you think that artists should get a business education? Because it's interesting that what you say, people try to take advantage of you. Everybody is kind of. So do you think that nowadays to be an artist, you automatically have to be an entrepreneur?
I think to be really successful at it, you do. but I think that's also not for everybody. So I do have some experience, starting other companies, failing at other companies. So I think that's definitely helped me in the music business, and I've still made a ton of mistakes. So I think you can't go into it blind. If you're in a band or you're by yourself, you can't. The dream is to give it all away, to say, hey, I just want to make music. I just want to perform. I don't want to do that stuff. I don't want to waste all that time on social media. I don't want to have to do the business side of it, but that's very, very dangerous, whether you're starting out or whether you're really successful. I mean, that's where you can get taken advantage of, where you think, you don't have to worry about that stuff, and all of a sudden you find out that your manager and whoever has lost 90% of your money and you have no money. Mm-hmm. So I think you do have to try to educate yourself to protect yourself. Mm-hmm. And again, you don't have to have an MBA, but you got to figure out the business side. You got to just every day try to learn one thing on the business side. And after a year or 2 or 3, you're going to have a lot more knowledge than you thought you have. And don't hate it, because you need it to be successful. You really do.
How do you keep your passion alive? Because, I've been, we all go through life. We all, try things, fail, blah, blah, blah. But it seems that when let's say you're in a company and, or in the music industry, you do this. At first, your intentions are, your intentions are pure. Your intentions, man, you're this, you love doing this. But then there's a politics, and then there's, that person who steals money from you, and then there's this. And oftentimes, the artists or the person, it sucks their passion away, and oftentimes they don't do it anymore. You don't understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, how do you keep your passion alive when you're going through that stuff?
I think, me personally, you asked earlier, and I didn't quite answer the question because I didn't get around to it, but when I first started telling friends and family, hey, I'm going to do this, even as an adult, people made fun of you. There was this venom from people that I never expected. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it really surprised me because I wasn't bothering them. I wasn't moving out to LA. I wasn't doing anything. I was the same old person. I was cool with people. I didn't make fun of people. I didn't talk about, I never squashed anyone's dream. So it really took me by surprise because I thought people would be like, this is great that you've always wanted to do this and you're not giving up your day job. You're not giving up your family, your friends. And it's all, when we're sleeping at night or when we're whatever, you're doing it. And that was my first insight. And then my next insight was, I think everyone has their own agenda. And to me, I always said, I just want to release my music and I just want people to hear it. And that's why I give it away for free, because a third of the songs on iTunes are never bought, not even one time. Something crazy like, I think I heard there was like 1 million songs on Spotify that have never been heard once. So to me, my first goal is, exposure, is I just want it out there. And the money was never important to me, but I'll tell you, there was a little part of me that thought, I'm going to release that first song and people are going to go crazy and it's going to go viral and I'm going to be on, Oprah and Jimmy Fallon and it never happened. And there was some disappointment. And as I released a new song every month and I moved on to the next one, there were times I struggled. I struggled mentally, and it really just takes you refocusing and dedicating yourself to realize, you're doing what you want to do. You love doing it. And I'm really not doing it for the money. So for me, it's much more liberating. If I had to sit there and say, oh, I lost $100 this month, and, it really, again, I'm not doing it for that. So I'm okay with that. I've accepted it. And that's been part of actually a very strong maturation for me, because I don't feel pressured anymore. I have no label. There's no one I have to answer to. And it's very different than a lot of people's situations. A label comes knocking on their door. They say, sure. And then 3 years later, they get spit out and they've done nothing for them because they weren't ready for it. So to me, I think you're going to hit those low points. And one of the coolest things, Frederick, that's happened to me is every time I kind of feel really annoyed or bummed, or I'm like, why am I doing this? No one's listening to this. Only a few people bought this or listened to this or watched this. I get the coolest email or post from a fan that really brightens my day. You know, the best song for my CD last year was "What If I Never See You Again." It was a song I wrote about my father a couple years after his death one night when I couldn't sleep, and I just really wondered, hey, am I ever going to see him again? And, you know, I'll get an email from someone who's like, you know, my husband died years ago and I heard your song and I started crying, or just things like that. And it really makes me feel like it gets me back to why I did this in the first place. If I could just affect one person, my art is powerful. It's doing something. Because you're going to have critics, you're going to have naysayers that tell you that, you know, your music sucks, your vocal style stinks, and you can't, I try to learn from everybody and get better, but you can't let that derail you, because it's going to happen. 99% of what you hear are not compliments.
Wow. All right, just before continuing this conversation, for you, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. I personally recommend the audiobook The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, or you can choose the audiobook of your choice for free by trying audible.com. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/Fred. Again, that's audibletrial.com/Fred. You will be entertained, and at the same time, you will help a brother out. So everybody wins. Go to audibletrial.com/Fred for your free audiobook. That's good. All right, we're talking to Sarantos. He's a singer, musician. He's described as an emotionally powerful vocal style, masterfully united with a fusion of classic 80s rock and modern music. All right, let's shift gears. What are you doing now? What is your current endeavor?
So I'm actually getting ready. Yeah, I'm getting ready. Again, I release a new song and video and book chapter every month. So getting ready. The new song is coming out in a day. Next month is Valentine's Day. You know, it's February. So the song is Valentine's Day, which is kind of a cool soft rock pop love song. And I'm just getting ready for that because, like we talked about, I do everything myself. So I got to upload it to a few different sites. I got to get the videos out there. I got to get everything kind of set. So, so that's kind of what I'm working on right now. And then I just finished recording yesterday one of the songs for later in the year that I'm trying to finalize. And there's always something.
What inspires you to make music?
You know, what inspires me lyrically, I'm all about the lyrics. And I've been writing lyrics since I was a little kid. So I'm always in search of something that'll really touch people, something that they'll listen to the lyrics, they'll listen to my singing, they'll listen to the music, and they'll want to sing it, they'll want to hit the replay button, it'll touch them in some way that's really what I'm searching for. And I'm not delusional enough to think that it's going to affect every person, but even if you have the number one hit of the year, that means probably 85% of the world hated it. So again, there's plenty of people out there, and I'm just trying to find something that'll touch as much people as possible and make a difference in their lives.
We talked earlier about the bad side of music, the bad side of, the business sometimes. Let's talk about the good side a little bit. What excites you most about the music right now? About making music?
What excites me about making it is just, this is my third year that I'm releasing things, and it excites me because I think the stuff that's going to start coming out from April on is much, much, for lack of a better term, cooler, better. The lyrics are so much better. The vocals are so much better. And I feel like I've continued to get a lot better. And that excites me musically because, again, that's what it's all about. I want to be able to make a difference, and I've listened to critiques, I've listened to compliments, and I've tried to get better, and I feel like things are getting better. I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm probably my harshest critic, and I feel like I'm about halfway there. So, but it's exciting that when I can see that huge step and that big difference in the lyrics, it's exciting for me. It really is.
we all have, I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan. I mean, we all have like a song that moves us, a song that I don't know. It doesn't matter how old we are, it always stays with us. Do you have that song? Do you have a song in particular?
Yeah, I would say one of my favorite songs of all time is Eye of the Tiger by Survivor. Mm-hmm. That's probably the one that anytime I'm dragging or, I hear it when I'm working out or something, it just really gets me going. Yeah. I remember the whole Rocky thing, and I just remember I've always felt like an underdog in my life. I'm not a child of privilege. My parents, worked in a restaurant. They were immigrants. I never had money. And I still feel like that. I still feel like the underdog. And I love that story. I love that.
And me too. I mean, oh yeah. I mean, Eye of the Tiger, me too. The lyrics means, I'm a big lyric guy. To me, like music, it's all about like lyrics and, and oh yeah, I agree with you. Eye of the Tiger is definitely up there. Are you still in touch with your family in Greece? Or?
Yeah, some of them. Yeah, absolutely. I hadn't visited Greece in a very long time. Mm-hmm. And I went a couple years ago, and it was great because, I'm older now, obviously. I'm not like, 13. Uh-huh. So it was very cool. My mom's brother is in Greece, and I had first cousins, and it's a beautiful country. And, of course, they've gone through a lot of economic difficulty, but mm-hmm. It's great. I really love traveling. I hope that I could one day, people just email me and say, hey, why don't you come to Argentina, or why don't you come to Brazil, or why don't you come? And I say, sure, and I can line up a show and just come there and make it a trip too. That's kind of what I want.
And what do they think about your current music career?
Oh, some of them are very supportive. Obviously I didn't tell my 80-year-old aunts, they don't quite, I don't want to say they're not interested, but, we just talked about, hey, you've grown up since the last time I saw you. But some of the other people, they're excited. And, again, they follow me and they see I'm still doing it every month and I'm releasing new stuff and I'm active and it's not slowing down. So they're cool with it.
Oftentimes in our professional endeavor, endeavors, we have to give ourselves fully to this and failure and all rejection, all that stuff are inevitable. And we need something to fall back on. We need we need support, somebody who's not going to love us, I should say, just for what we produce. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you have, a support system?
I think so. I think a lot of the family and friends, I think this has taught me, again, I would never wish ill on anybody, and I'm not the kind of person that talks about people. But I'm also not the kind of guy who ever holds a grudge or goes off on people. So even people that I know have said things, I forgive them. I've moved on. And I look at everyone as a support system. I look at my family, my friends, cousins, people I've met in the industry that are really cool. Some of the musicians I've worked with from all over the world. I look at everybody as my support system, and I want to grow old together with all of them. My fans, too. My fans are my biggest support system because my email list is at like 18,000 people.
Wow.
These are fans that want to get an email from me every month, which, again, Facebook, I release a new song, I put it out there, and it reaches like 900 people. And you have to pay, and you have to boost your post. And, if you want to spend a couple $100 to reach like whatever, half your audience, you could. But my fans, these people want to get an email from me, and you can see, hey, the majority open them every month, and they only get 2 emails. Here's the new song. Here's the new video. So my email list and my fans, I think, I appreciate that because I know they're busy. Mm-hmm. I'm busy, and how many emails do we get? You just don't have the time to open, or you glance at it, you delete it. To me, if they are on my email list and they open my email, I know their time is valuable. And if they click on my YouTube video and watch it, I know that was 3 or 4 or 5 minutes of their life they can't get back. And I'm humbled by that. I'm humbled that they would do that.
Yeah, I mean, people's comments are unbelievable. I think when I receive, a comment from a brilliant interview or whatever, and I hear like say that, they bought the person's book that I interviewed, mm-hmm. My God, that feels good. And I totally relate to what you're saying, man. Okay. Let's dive into the creative process. How do you write a song? What's your creative process?
So for me, the creative process can vary a lot, but in essence, most of it is done through Logic, which is a computer program on the Macintosh. And I will hire session musicians to help me lay down a live drum or guitar. And the lyrics are all mine, and I do all the lyrics, and then I'll usually do the vocals. And then I usually have someone help me mix it and master it. So that's kind of the process in general.
Okay. And how does it come to you? Do you have like a creative habit? You know, do you walk in the forest? Do you, train at the gym, or, meditate? Do you have a creative habit that fuels a creative life?
I think I've been writing for so long, and the last couple years, I think a lot of people, your creative brain is very different. So I used to just get inspired by anything, being at the gym, being on the subway, watching a movie, reading a book, and I'll just go off and I'll usually write between 1 to 5 songs a day. And to me, then it becomes, I used to be like, all right, well, that's what I was inspired to do, and that's it, it's done. And what I've really learned in the last year or two is that's just the beginning. So I never used to rewrite my lyrics or look for a relatable theme and then try to figure out how the verses fit together. And I've really learned that, and I've learned a lot about writing lyrics the last year or so because, again, it was never taught to me. And I just kind of always thought, I now know that there's lyrical structure. I know that there's a lot that goes to it. But in terms of the initial inspiration, Frederick, I can write a song about anything, anywhere, and it's sometimes hard to shut my brain off. But the cool thing now is I just usually email to myself on my iPhone. I write it, and I just have a file that I save them as, and there's a lot there.
See, I always think that's fascinating because I think I speak to other musicians too, and I think all of them, at least most of them, they hear music in their head. And actually I was watching a show on Oprah by Lionel Richie, and that's what he was saying. He was in school and you heard the sound, and and I think it's like you're a writer, the story comes to you, like the story is there, the scene in your head is there, and you almost expect that everybody else is the same. Do you know what I mean?
They're not. Yeah, absolutely, Frederick. I think sometimes, especially if I hear music without singing or lyrics or vocals, I definitely imagine and I hear the vocals and lyrics in my head, and I can be inspired to write a song that way. Sometimes I'm just watching TV and I hear a word, or I'm at the gym and I see something, or I read a book, and all of a sudden that one word a minute later becomes a full song. And that's the way I do it. But again, I think everyone's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you consider your talent special? And this is why I wanted my question to lead, because when you expect, when you expect that everybody else is the same as you, you don't see this as something special. You don't see the music in your head as special. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't. When I was growing up and I would write songs and lyrics, I thought, I think I have a gift for this, but I kept working at it. I think at this point, I don't consider that I have a gift. I just consider that I work really hard at it. Mm-hmm. And I think what I've learned, whether it's my vocals, whether it's my lyrics, I'm one of these guys that believes that hard work really is what makes superstars. And I know a lot of people think, well, Michael Jordan was the greatest basketball player of all time, and I agree he had to have height, but I think, it's really about the work ethic, and I truly believe that you can become anything you want to become. And what I really am dying to do, if I ever make it, I think it's going to be the coolest thing, because I'm going to release how I sounded when I was singing, when I was younger, then like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year. And I think it's going to show people, look, he wasn't that good initially, and it was practice and hard work and learning how to sing and learning about melody, learning about phrasing, learning about enunciation. There's things that most people don't know about, and I think hard work can overcome a lot of that, and eventually if you put in the time, I think you can become great at something. I really do. And that's my opinion. And a lot of people are like, no, I can't paint. It's got to be an inborn gift. I think there's a fascinating book about how we rewrite our neurons, the myelin outside our neuron sheets. And they went to like countries and they studied Brazil, the soccer players. And they studied, there was an area where there was a lot of people that became great tennis players in Russia. And they studied all that. And I think definitely there's some truth to genetics and being this piece of clay that can be molded and shifted. But at the end of the day, it's hard work, and the correct hard work and the correct practice. So if you're practicing the wrong thing over and over, you're not going to get better.
Yeah. Do you read books, like motivational books?
I don't. I've read in my life, I've read like one or two. I remember reading like Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus once, and there's like one or two other books I've read throughout my life. And I try to be a motivated person. I read a lot, but I don't necessarily read a whole motivational book. It's more like, the same emails and social media things that people kind of float around. But I don't really read most of the stuff I read now. I love science, I love sports, but I've read so many books on music and lyrics and, different things like that. That's the main thing that I read at this point. But I read comic books. I read comic books every week when they come out. I love comic books. So I try to read a little bit of everything, but most of it now is music stuff.
All right, guys. All right. Hey, thank you very much, Sarantos. Thank you very much for this first part interview. Did you sense his coolness? He's such a cool guy. He's such a simple guy, and yet, man, he's very knowledgeable. You can tell this guy is on his way. Man, keep working, brother. You're doing it, and congratulations. All right. As for us, it's time to ride off into the sunset. So I'm going to tell you what you're going to do right now. You're going to go to frederickbuy.com. That's Frederick with a C, buy like bye-bye.com. And you're going to join our creatives community. And why you join our creatives community? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because you're going to get a free audiobook of my interview, my conversation with author J.F. Dubois. And I decided to give you this conversation as a free gift because it represents really what this brand, what I am all about. It's about making transitions in our life. It's about changing our lives to go to and do what we really want to do. And also you're gonna be the first person to receive you're gonna get all the podcast episodes, past, present, and future. You're gonna be the first one to get them. And also, you can get a bunch of free blogs, articles. You'll be up to date, guys. But, so go right now. frederickbuy.com. That's Frederick with a C. Buy like bye-bye.com. All right. I want to leave you with a quote that goes like this. Never allow waiting to become a habit. Live your dreams and take risks. Life is happening now. Stay safe. Live with purpose, passion, and love. Bye-bye.